So the thing which I wanted to talk is, in the initial stages, what should be the focus of a founder, right? When I'm starting out, what should be my focus? Should it be on growth, or it should be on day-to-day operations? And the second thing, should I delegate everything? Should I do everything?
Yeah, so there are initial stages, some aspects, functions of the business that you would like to have control over, which you wouldn't want to delegate, right? Some of it you want to think in terms of what are some of the factors which is highly contributing to the direct revenue is what you want to take it up on your own, which might be just in terms of like sales, then hiring, because the talent you want to hire to make sure that you have complete process over that, at least initially till you build your own team for each of these functions. So these are some pieces, and of course like 20-25% of your time should go towards like the day-to-day operations execution aspect as well, to make sure that things are smoothly running, and some of this like 10% of your time will go towards like firefighting, to make sure like any mistakes happen, how do you resolve that, like to make sure things are headed the right way as you want it to. So this is the way that you want to focus on. But the worst case is when you actually get sucked down into day-to-day operations, when you're executing on your own, is when you'll realize that you're kind of losing your vision, you're kind of not looking at a very overview level, and that might hamper growth at a certain point. So need to have a balance where like things are moving smoothly, but you're very focused towards revenue generating activities and growth aspects of the business that will help the company grow at the end of the day.
Right. That's what I feel, that if, let's say, we are a team of two people, right? So the thing how we divide is that I focus on the upper level. I focus, okay, what's next? How growth I connect, and he focuses, okay, how is the day-to-day operations working? Because if both of us either are focused on growth, then day-to-day operations would be over, right? It won't work. And if both are into day-to-day operations, then we'll just be at the same level. We want to grow, right? So that's how we both divide our work. Then how it works is that one founder has to look at growth. The another thing is that, do you feel that hypothesis, when you think about growth, there's some certain level of hypothesis that, okay, I want this to happen. But maybe it's not practical. Then how do you look at it? Like, do you as a founder always look at goals which are practical, or you have a vision and you achieve it anyhow? Maybe it's not practical, or we'll just forget that.
So I think like in general, you need to have a certain set of goals broken down by yearly goals, 3-year goals, 5-year goals, and that broken down by even quarterly goals, right? So then you have a clear direction in terms of where you'll have to head towards, and how you need to look at growth to achieve those goals. And of course, like you need to set goals which is far-fetched as well. It should be like, even if you achieve lesser than that, it should still be considered as a success. So goals of course should be far-fetched, and it's up to you to figure out how some of those goals you will unlock and how you will achieve that, right? Because again, if you're being very safe, then you're kind of losing out on the opportunities that you would have seen in case you were at an uncomfortable stage, or like at a very different mindset, right? So from that point of view, I feel goals should be far-fetched, and it shouldn't be very easily achievable, right? That's when you unlock more potential, unlock more scale, unlock more effectiveness, unlock more productivity, which is what is going to differentiate you from the rest.
Okay. Then as a founder, how do you deal with crisis? I feel that in this journey, crisis is a really common thing. And what I have seen myself is that people with me who are in college, right, they are maybe starting off with some project, or maybe want to do a startup, but they never go beyond a month. In a month, they are just down. The thing is, when they started with enthusiasm and all, they're like, I will do this thing, I will do that thing, and the first crisis drops. The thing they don't understand is, and I tell that, okay, when you become an entrepreneur or you even start anything, there has to be some speed breakers there. Your job is to figure out. So how do you figure out your own speed breakers? How do you figure out that, okay, this is the crisis, but also solving that I want to grow.
Yeah, so I think like speed breakers or crises is something that will for sure come in your journey, right? Like that's where you figure out why a particular crisis came, how you can solve that, and then see how that crisis does not get repeated as well, right? And of course, there'll be many crises which will happen which are beyond your control as well. That's where, as an entrepreneur, sometimes you'll have to accept the fact that you put in your 100%. Also, sometimes there'll be other factors that will come into the play which might not get you the outcome as desired. So it's also sometimes accepting the fact that okay, fine, it is beyond my control. I couldn't have done anything about it, right? I think greatest example is like GST levied, the government levied like 28% on the gaming startups. So it is like a huge crisis for them, but they have to see in terms of what the next steps are. They can't go beating around the bush that okay, shit, what do I do now? They have to kind of figure out what is the next steps. Is there new gaming avenues or new target markets that they'll have to explore, and then delve into those aspects. So I think crisis is a thing which you can't completely eliminate, but it's about how you have the mindset of solving it, how you look at it as an opportunity to overcome it and figure out. So yeah, I would say that.
Okay. We'll now divert the topic bit.
Yeah.
But before that, I have a personal question.
Yeah.
Okay. Which many people want to know. How do you find a startup job? Okay, you worked in startups, you got that. But as a student, how do you figure out that okay, where is the job and I need to go there?
Yeah.
How do you figure out a job in a startup mainly?
So got it. So I think for me, LinkedIn has been like a very has played like a very helpful role in terms of me getting a bunch of opportunities. Because my first internship I got it through LinkedIn. Then my first job as well I got it through LinkedIn. My first set of clients I got it through LinkedIn. So I think it's just about you putting yourself out there and reaching also to a bunch of people saying that hey, I this is my background, this is what I can bring to the board, and I would like to learn. So if you reach out to a bunch of people, like some of those will try to see if whether they have any opportunities give you. So yeah, it's a matter of you marketing yourself again to show what skill sets you have, what you bring onto the board, then you outreaching to other people to show what you have is what will actually help you get those opportunities. And you need to have clear idea specifically, right? Like bunch of people, of course they're in the figuring out space, but you need to have clear idea in terms of what are some of your skill sets, what you bring to the board, and what is it that you're looking to gain out of a particular role, right? So when you have these clear ideas, and then it's easier for who you're reaching out to understand what you bring to the table, and that of course goes to the next phase. So yeah, these are some ways.
Alright, so the key is personal branding here again. We started with personal branding, that okay, how do you market your startup, and also like I think personal branding is really important in these times if you want to.
Yeah, it surely is an edge that will give you. It surely helps you stand apart from the crowd, right? If not a personal brand, then you need to have like a really good portfolio or a really good kind of results to show them that say, right, to give them social proof that, or like say proof that you're really good at it, right? If your personal branding, what you're doing is all this work of yours or all these skill sets of yours you're displaying on the public platform. Otherwise, like say for example, if you're like a designer, video editor, you need to have like a really good portfolio of work. Even if you're not putting out that, then this you can be using as like a showcase to get that interest and show what you bring to the table. Yeah.
All right. So now we'll straightly dive into the digital marketing space right now, right? How is it evolving in India? What are the aspects of it? How is the artificial intelligence playing a role into it, and what's next into the digital marketing space?
So digital marketing as a field is very huge, right? There are a lot of functions to digital marketing itself, which makes this whole field up. When I would say different, it would mean like there's search engine optimization, there's email marketing, there's performance marketing, then there's conversion rate optimization, then there's newsletter audience building, there's like bunch of functions that come under the purview of digital marketing, right? So in general, digital marketing is evolving more from the point that every brand wants to have a digital presence right now. A person's average screen time right now is improving a lot, right? Like it's going on increasing day by day. Every interaction that you see is very digital driven right now. So from that point of view, digital marketing as a field is going to evolve and grow over time. But the way it evolves, the way how the audience matures, etc., is also some of the factors that will come into the play. Because 10 years back, you could make like a very clickbaity ad and then you would get really amazing results. But then now the audience itself is getting more mature, and now the audience is clearly able to differentiate what is like an organic content and what is an ad. If you're selling something, then people are not interested unless you're able to differentiate yourselves. So that's where like the aspect of differentiation, the difference of again coming to the principles of building a great brand is coming into the play right now. So now again, big companies are looking at it, how they can build like a long sustainable brand, how can they build like a great brand recall value instead of looking at very immediate results, because that's kind of losing out its value and losing out its effectiveness, where you're pumping in a bunch of money and like getting a bunch of new customers. Is actually losing out value, or it's turning out to be expensive and not sustainable over a period of time. So I think that's been one of the interesting factors in terms of only brands which are going to be able to clearly differentiate themselves, clearly able to add value to their customers, is what is going to help them sustain over a longer period over time. And apart from that, I think like say AI has been like one of the interesting aspects of how it might revolutionize the whole marketing bit as well, right? Of course, there are aspects of AI already being used. In fact, the algorithms of Facebook ads, Google ads are all very AI driven. That itself is like AI this thing. But now AI is in the hands of marketers. So now it's very early stages to see. I think there's some basic use cases, but as we go on, there'll be like a bunch of marketing using AI itself that will come into the play that will help you generate really good results. I think for the bigger brands, it wouldn't be this thing like they still it wouldn't make a difference, but it'll make a difference for a lot of smaller brands because they can still generate high quality stuff, generate really good quality stuff with very less resources and investment. So that might be a great entry barrier breaking that will help more people to venture and do a lot of marketing stuff with having very limited resources and investment, I would say. So that's one of the way that AI would of course help. And yeah, I think like a bunch of people are of course delving up in diving into the digital marketing space because of the opportunities that is coming up and of the growth potential that people are seeing. But I think to succeed in this field, you need to look at it more from the point where you're a T-shaped marketer, right? Like you're a T-shaped marketer, where essentially T at the top means you have idea about different aspects of digital marketing or marketing in general, but you completely dive deep into certain aspects of marketing and you become like a really good expert in it, is what will help you actually generate leverage for your profile and help you get better opportunities out there, rather than you trying to be good at all the stuff which is not. Of course generalist, being a generalist helps initially, but after a certain point you need to get like deep expertise at a certain segment in order for you to grow exponentially and add real value out there to the market.
Yeah, so I feel that AI right now for startups should be their hand, right? The mind says, the hand does. Right? It should not be their brain, because speaking from my own experience, AI can generate really good content, but only and only if you make it understand what you want. If you give it the freedom of generating anything, but just by giving a basic command, it won't. It won't do it how people like it. It won't do it pretty industry standard, right? It should be like an extra hand you have.
Yeah, exactly. So I think about like the whole AI piece itself is not like it's going to eliminate jobs or anything. Like creativity aspect is something that which humans have, which has been some of the biggest advantageous for the whole humankind to evolve. And I don't see, at least in the coming years, where like AI will take over these aspects, right? So very quickly, because context setting is another important thing. Humans have the context, humans have the history, humans have another aspect is instinctive aspect, right? Like instinct is something based on your gut feeling, etc., which humans have, that will lead to some decisions. You again, AI is all very AI like data driven or based on previous experience. It does not have like an instinct as such. So these are some of the USPs of like a human which has helped. And AI will be like a supporting factor, assisting factor that will help you execute on a lot of things which you have in mind. So yeah, I think that way every person should of course see how they can try to use these tools to increase their efficiency more, how they can try to execute on things which would have taken a lot of time before, and yeah, leverage some of these tools. It's still in the very nascent stages, but I feel like this might be one of the revolutionary technologies. After like how the internet was like a revolutionary tech, I feel like the AI is going to be like the next revolutionary tech, which will create a lot of breakthroughs and change how we actually look at doing work and getting things done.
Can you give some specific tools for early stage startups to use, like being a marketer? Can you just suggest some tools that okay, for this thing you may use this AI?
Yeah, so I think there's just ChatGPT, of course, on its own is very effective. You could draft ad copies, draft email campaigns, use it for a lot of research, and try to understand a lot of parameters which you would have to spend a lot of time googling. You get that data upfront. So ChatGPT, of course. Then lately there's been a lot of other tools where you could create your own chatbots. So there's this tool called Poe, with POE, where you could create your own chatbot. You could give it some data inputs that will help you create your own chatbot, so that based on your data inputs the chatbot is trained. So that's one of the interesting things that we have started using. So apart from that, I think there are a bunch of other just creative generation tools and like editing tools, and like yeah, people are just trying to implement AI into every particular use case. So uh, everything has a tool right now, but the use cases are still evolving, and the effectiveness of the output is still evolving over time. So yeah, that's still in the coming years we'll see like proper use cases and like proper effectiveness out of it, which will help you see greater results. So yeah.
Okay. This one thing which we were talking, and let's again address the elephant. American psychology versus the Indian market, right? What we see is that startups coming up implementing some American or Western business models in India, taking huge funds from VC and being in loss. So how does the Indian consumer psychology work according to a marketer, right? What's your instinct on that?
Yeah, I think in general, for companies, it's very easy, and it's like the easiest way to implement new ideas, which is by copying ideas from the West and implement it to the Indian segment, right? Even initially, it might sound like very disruptive, and like say, it might sound like okay, India is a growing market, but if you see, there is just like 1% of the Indian audience which is very wealthy, who does not concern about paying extra money for the convenience, right? So as an Indian audience, we are still evolving, where we are trying to pay the extra money for the convenience, and like we are okay with it. But the large chunk of the audience is like they don't mind taking that extra effort to actually accomplish a task if they are saving up some money, right? So that's just been one of the challenging aspects for Indian startups to monetize, because as a population, India looks very huge, looks like a very huge market, but like the paying population is very niche, very small. So monetizable aspect is very hard, because in India it's easy to build a user base. You could drive users, you could drive user acquisition, you could build the audience, but to get that audience to pay is where most brands struggle, and that's where like startups are still figuring out what are some of the services that will work well in the Indian market, what are some of the products that will work well in the Indian market, what are some of the segments, niches that they can target. So that's just been some of the figuring outs big startups are doing right now. But yeah, in general, Indian psychographic is very different, Indian mindset is very different, the triggers for getting them to buy is very different from like a US audience, because inherently Indian audience is very savings driven, and as I mentioned, they value the saving over the convenience also. So from that point of view, at least the majority that I'm speaking, the mass, right? But in the US or like in the UK, the Western, more developed first world countries, they value the time that they'll save. They don't mind spending that extra mile to get to enhance their lives, right? So uh, that's just a mindset shift, and the kind of cognitive biases and the kind of like say thought processes, etc., that people in the Indians audience bring with them. But yeah, I think you need to very get to the specific. That's why talking to your customers, understanding whether they think like the foreign audience or not, or like say how they are different, and adapting your solution to that particular this thing is actually one of the this thing. And that's one of the reasons why Netflix, of course, was not very successful in India, more from the point where they got the pricing wrong. Like people in India would not want to go the extra mile and spend something for a subscription at this particular moment. Of course, Amazon Prime got their pricing right, they like $1,000 you get everything, but Netflix was like 250-300 rupees per month, which is very high for like an Indian subset. And pricing in general for India is very important. Like people still are going to compare 2-3 options and check only go for this thing, right? And Indians audience is not like the most loyal audience at the moment. Of course, like not to blame, people want like the most cost effective way to accomplish their goal, but those are just been some of the ways, some of the challenges for monetizing the business models in India. Yeah.
Sure.